Cletus McFarland crashed at Daytona. He spun 4 times at Rockingham, and then NASCAR told him he is not allowed to race at any track 1.5 miles or longer. Childress Racing still had a third car sitting ready for Texas Motor Speedway. So they picked up the phone and called someone who has never finished outside the top 10 at that exact track in 11 tries. Let's start at the beginning. Garrett Mitchell, the YouTuber the world knows as Cletus McFarland, is 31 years old. He has built one of the biggest audiences in car content on the internet, and over the last couple of years, that love for cars turned into something more serious. He started racing in the ARCA Menard series. He put in laps. He got better. And in 2026, NASCAR opened a door that most people with zero traditional racing experience never get close to. His NASCAR National Series debut came at the Craftsman Truck Series race to open the 2026 season at Daytona International Speedway. He drove the number 4 for Nice Motorsports. He crashed in the opening laps. Race over. That was not the start anyone wanted, but the doors kept opening anyway. By March of 2026, Mitchell had signed a deal with Childress Racing, 3 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races. That is one of the most storied teams in NASCAR history. Jesse Love, the reigning O'Reilly Series champion, drives their full-time number 2 car. Austin Hill drives the number 21, and now Cletus McFarland had a contract to drive the part-time number 33 Chevrolet 3 times this season. The question the entire NASCAR world wanted answered: is he actually ready for that? On April 3rd, 2026, at Rockingham Speedway, everyone watching got their first real answer, and it was more complicated than either side of the debate wanted it to be. NASCAR approved Rockingham as the right starting point. It is a 0.94-mile short track. That is exactly the kind of place you put a driver who is still learning where the limit is in a National Series car. Mitchell suited up, climbed in the number 33, and raced. He completed 244 of the 250 laps. He finished 32nd. He also spun 4 times during the race. A couple were full spins. A couple were moments where he got sideways and caught it. He avoided contact with other cars. He did not wreck anyone. He brought the car home. Standing outside the car afterward, Mitchell smiled at reporters and said, "All this internet talk got me thinking, maybe I shouldn't come back." He was joking, mostly. The NASCAR community had been split on his presence before that race. After it, both sides stayed exactly where they were. The people who thought he belonged there said he finished the race and caused no problems. The people who thought he should not be there pointed at 32nd place and 4 spins. Justin Allgaier, the 2024 O'Reilly Series champion who currently leads the 2026 standings, was straight about it. He said he did not envy Mitchell's position and that the day had to be really tough given everything being said about him on social media, and then there was the response from inside NASCAR itself. John Probst, NASCAR's Senior Vice President of Racing Operations, spoke about Cletus after Rockingham. His exact words: "We're all huge Cletus fans. We all watch his videos and are certainly very appreciative of everything he's done in our sport and will continue to do in our sport." Those are the words you say right before you tell someone what they cannot do next. Because after Rockingham, Cletus had his eyes set on Talladega Superspeedway. He said it publicly. He wanted to be in the O'Reilly Series field there. And NASCAR shut it down completely. Probst made it official. Cletus McFarland was not approved to compete at tracks 1.5 miles or longer in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Short tracks only, for now. The jump to bigger tracks was blocked until he could show more on track at the smaller ones. Talladega was out, Kansas was out, and Texas Motor Speedway, the site of this weekend's Andy's Frozen Custard 340, is a 1.5-mile track. Also out. So Childress Racing had the number 33 sitting available, no Cletus, and a race at a 1.5-mile track coming up fast on the calendar. But before we get to who they called, let's talk about what Cletus did at Talladega anyway. He was not in the O'Reilly Series race there, but he was in the ARCA Menard Series race at the same track, and he nearly won it. Cletus McFarland finished second in the ARCA race at Talladega. He lost by the smallest margin to Series veteran Andy Jankowiak. He was the best car on the track for large portions of that race, a 2.66-mile super speedway, the fastest, most chaotic environment in NASCAR, and a YouTuber who got criticized for spinning 4 times at Rockingham nearly drove to victory lane there. NASCAR's Probst was asked directly if that second-place ARCA run changed anything about Cletus's approval status. "Not yet, no," Probst said. Mitchell's next approved O'Reilly Series appearance is Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th. Nashville measures 1.333 miles. That is the step below a full 1.5-mile intermediate. It is the bridge NASCAR wants him to cross before anything bigger gets considered. We started with Cletus crashing at Daytona, spinning at Rockingham, getting blocked from Talladega and Texas, and now NASCAR is sending him to Nashville on May 30th with a very specific message. Nasi gitsi. Prove it there first. Keep that in mind because where this goes after Nashville is where the real story is. Back to Texas. RCR needed someone for the number 3 entry at Texas Motor Speedway, not the number 33. The number 3. That is a deliberate choice that tells you something. When RCR runs Austin Dillon in these part-time O'Reilly Series entries, they pull out the number 3. They did it when Dillon ran at Charlotte Motor Speedway last year. They are doing it again this weekend. The number 3 at Richard Childress Racing is not just a number. Richard Childress drove that number. Dale Earnhardt carried it for years on the way to 6 championships with that team. When that number comes out for a race, there is intent behind it. And Austin Dillon's connection to Texas Motor Speedway makes him the obvious choice. In 2020, Dillon won the Cup Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. He drove the number 3 Chevrolet to that win. That is the same car he has driven full-time at the Cup level since 2014. But his O'Reilly Series history at Texas is even more telling. Dillon has made 11 career O'Reilly Series starts at Texas Motor Speedway. In all 11 of those races, he has never once finished outside the top 10. 11 starts. 0 finishes outside the top 10. His worst result at that track in the O'Reilly Series is 10th place, which came in his most recent start there in November 2017. That means he has not been in an O'Reilly car at Texas in close to 9 years. And he still has a perfect top 10 record at the track. That is the kind of history that makes a phone call very easy to make. But this is not the only time in 2026 that RCR has had to make this kind of call. And the full picture of how Dillon fits into their part-time program tells you something about how this team operates when their planned Saison suffer. This season alone, Dillon has already stepped into RCR's part-time O'Reilly entries twice. He finished 13th at Charlotte Motor Speedway last year when he ran the same kind of deal. And at Iowa Speedway, when Austin Hill was suspended for one race, Dillon was the name RCR called. He finished 14th there. Neither of those results are flashy, but they are clean. No drama, no accidents, no complications for the team. Dillon shows up, knows the equipment, understands the organization, and produces a result that does not hurt anything. For a part-time third entry at a team built around a reigning champion and a full-time O'Reilly driver, that is exactly what you need. You do not want chaos. You want someone who makes the weekend easier, not harder. And at Texas specifically, Dillon is not just filling a seat. He is a legitimate factor for a strong finish based purely on his record at that track. 11 starts, every single one inside the top 10, including a trip to Victory Lane in the Cup Series on the same circuit in 2020. That kind of track-specific history does not disappear just because it has been a few years. This is exactly what the headline says. Cleetus McFarland got replaced at Texas, and the reason he got replaced is the same reason this story matters beyond just one race entry. Here is the bigger picture. Mitchell signed a 3-race deal with RCR. Race 1 was Rockingham. Race 2 is Nashville on May 30th. That leaves 1 race on the contract. After Nashville, NASCAR's driver approval committee meets to decide what comes next. Probst was clear about what the standard is. If he does outstanding at Nashville, I imagine he would be approved for 1.5-mile tracks. Not good. Not solid. Outstanding. If Mitchell clears that bar, the third race on his RCR deal could be at an intermediate track. Or if things progress even further and NASCAR clears him for super speedways, there are 2 more O'Reilly Series races on super speedways left in 2026, Daytona and Talladega. And the Daytona race has been Mitchell's stated goal since before any of this started. That goal is connected directly to his late friend Greg Biffle, the NASCAR veteran who passed away in a plane crash in December 2025, along with 3 family members. Biffle was part of the reason Mitchell fell deeper in love with NASCAR. Getting to Daytona in a National Series car would mean something far beyond a racing achievement, but Rockingham showed the gaps, and Nashville has to be the answer before any of that next conversation happens. Austin Dillon races the number 3 at Texas Motor Speedway this Saturday. He has been to 11 O'Reilly Series races at that track and never once finished outside the top 10. RCR made the right call for the right race. And Cleetus McFarland waits. He nearly won at Talladega and Arca. He completed his O'Reilly debut at Rockingham with 4 spins and a 32nd place finish. He has 1 race left on his RCR deal, a path laid out through Nashville, and a dream that requires clearing every single step that NASCAR puts in front of him. Texas was not his race to have. Nashville on May 30th is the one that decides almost everything that comes after it. That is where this story is heading. And what happens there will be worth paying attention to.